Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. And welcome everybody to Street Smart Spirituality. This is episode 3. I'm your host, Barry, and we've got Cole in Australia. Say hello, Cole.
Hello.
You got to pay extra for vowels. Today's episode is on the art of forgiveness.
True forgiveness.
And true forgiveness. And I'm going to read a little something out of Course in Miracles from the workbook, part 2, on what is forgiveness. And then Cole will take it from there. What is forgiveness? Forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did to you has not occurred. It does not pardon sins and make them real. It sees there was no sin, and in that view are all your sins forgiven. What is sin except a false idea about God's Son? Forgiveness merely sees its falsity and therefore lets it go. What then is free to take its place is now the will of God. An unforgiving thought is one which makes a judgment that it will not raise to doubt, although it is not true. The mind is closed and will not be released. The thought protects projection, tightening its chains, so that distortions are more veiled and more obscure, less easily accessible to doubt and further kept from reason. What can come between a fixed projection and the aim that it has chosen as its wanted goal? An unforgiving thought does many things. In frantic action it pursues its goal, twisting and overturning what it sees as interfering with its chosen path. Distortion is its purpose, and the means by which it would accomplish it as well. It sets about its furious attempts to smash reality, without concern for anything that would appear to pose a contradiction to its point of view. Forgiveness, on the other hand, is still, and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seeks to twist it to appearances it likes. It merely looks and waits and judges not. He who would not forgive must judge, for he must justify his failure to forgive. But he who would forgive himself must learn to welcome truth exactly as it is. Do nothing then, and let forgiveness show you what to do, through him who is your guide, your Savior and Protector, strong in hope, and certain of your ultimate success. He has forgiven you already, for such is his function, given him by God. Now must you share his function and forgive whom he has saved, whose sinlessness he sees, and whom he honors as the Son of God. Your input, my friend.
All right. So, Course in Miracles is actually it's a book on forgiveness, really. And it's not just the forgiveness as we recognize forgiveness. So like, for example, somebody does something and you look at them and you go, poor guy, he doesn't know what he's doing, but I forgive him because I'm so holy and he's so sinful. That's not forgiveness, that's a condemnation. See, forgiveness recognizes what someone else is doing is your own projection. See, we have this idea that this world we're in is coming at us. What we actually don't see that this world is coming from us. That's why it's an illusion, because if we are not really connected to ourselves, to our will, to our feelings, to our heart, and even to our body, we're actually projecting this madness that seems to be appear everywhere. And then what we do, we condemn it. And by condemnation, which is the crucifixion really, like you nailed a brother on a cross. That's the whole idea of crucifixion. We're doing it to ourselves. And as you nail him, you nail yourself, because ideas do not leave their source. So everything comes from me. Now I can change things. I'm not the victim of the world I see. I am responsible for the world I see. And so when it comes to forgiveness, no matter what is occurring, I have to take it back home. I have to bring it back to myself. So you could also see yourself, this is a really good metaphor. For example, imagine a projector in a cinema, has a light, has a movie, has a projector and a screen, right? So light, imagine you have light in you. You are the light of the world. Like right now, you are whole and complete. Right now, if you could just let go everything you think you know, you are the light. But then you grab this movie and you put it in front of the light, and then you project it out there. And then instead of remembering that you are the light and you're projecting this, something in between, you go over to the screen and you begin to judge what's happening on a screen. And this is the situation of the world. So as simple as you do this, as simple you can change the order and realize that you are the one who is projecting this. And it's basically you cancel out the movie and you decide to play another movie. Again, there's two choices. How do you want it to be? Even with forgiveness, do you really want to forgive somebody that you're holding a grievance against? Do you really want to do it? And your answer will probably be no, because they've done all these wrong things to me. But what we don't see, that we are the one who magnetize these situations to us, because they already held in our subconscious mind. So we need to repair it in the subconscious, and then the movie will stop playing. We'll no longer project on a screen the insanity of what's held within our denials, but we'll begin to see the light we are, and then we begin to see it in everyone. That's why A Course in Miracles says, Jesus was a man who saw the face of Christ in all his brothers, and he remembered God. What did he really remember? He's himself. He remembered himself. And Jesus was just an example life. He was an example life. So was Buddha. So about every saint that we have, they just saying, hey, you can be like this. They didn't say, well, I'm showing you love and now you have to worship me. Yeah, he's saying like, you're right. That's the whole misperception of spirituality. We worship these dudes that were just like guys like us, who basically remembered themselves through forgiveness of the brother. So here is a practice. You go downtown and you see everyone as a graduate of whatever book you're following or whatever teachings you're into. Just imagine they're the graduates of that very teaching. And then you will see the town full of saints. And then instead of bringing tons of grievances like, well, he's fat and she's, this and they are this and government are this, you come home and you feel like Christ yourself. And it's that simple. I am the light of the world. And if I deny it, I put myself on a cross and I hang in there bleeding. And, then people all over the world put these crosses on the wall and celebrate it. It's like, yeah, I celebrate crucifixion. I hate my neighbor. And it's just got nothing to do with it. It's just a symbol of attack and symbol of death and sickness and suffering. And then people say, yeah, well, he He suffered for us. It's like, it's like a junkyard, man, information. No one suffered for you. He stopped suffering for himself. He stopped projecting crazy movies and he remembered God. He remembered his origins. So let's talk about this. Does it sound all right?
Yeah. I mean, I also reject the story that he suffered on the cross. I mean, he suffered no pain on the cross. I mean, he was already far beyond, any third dimensional sense of feelings. And Rana in the Archangel Michael teachings had a beautiful analogy for the cross. The vertical spire of light is the descent into third dimension, and then the horizontal is the where humanity gets stuck in the material.
Right.
So you overlay the horizontal with the vertical, and it gives you the cross. So it's an expansion on that. But I mean, it's such an abstraction. I mean, people, like you said, like we've talked about before, there are people that have been studying, not just A Course in Miracles, but any discipline, and after 20 years they still don't get it because they're unable to live the truth. They just repeat the same thing over and over and over and over again. So
but you got to watch that, because you see it right now, so I'm gonna really use this.
Yeah, that. Wait a minute. That
Okay.
wasn't a judgment. That was an observation.
No, I'm with you, brother.
No, I mean, you say, I've made comments like that on YouTube a couple times, and people come back and go, "Oh, dude, that was a judgment." I said, "No, dude, no, that was an observation."
Yeah,
and
beautiful.
There's a very subtle difference, but I know where you're coming from. So go ahead.
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a beating.
No, it's not a beating. I would be crazy to beating you, because I'll be hanging on a cross with you, brother, if I nailed you. So I just don't do things like that. If I remember, and there's still a memory somewhere in there that sometimes catches myself going, like thinking about, I don't know, presidents or something that do some crazy stuff. It's like, that's an interesting little sort of movie playing out there. And but yeah, the more I catch myself, the less of this world becomes as solid as it is, because this world actually is meant to be way more liquid. See, because of the judgment and condemnation, we actually made ourselves dense. So now we're stepping more into the right use of will approach, where we are as bodies supposed to be free. In A Course in Miracles says, you are not a body, you're free, which is true. But through judgment and condemnation, we made ourselves dense. And now we're suffering in this density. And we're trying to forgive, but what is forgiving is that which is dense. So we actually need to learn, identify the cause of the problem, not the effect. So when you begin to forgive, suddenly you will start to feel lighter in yourself, and suddenly you're projecting a whole new movie out there. You're projecting a movie of wholeness. And then the outside reality becomes way more liquid. Nothing is firm, nothing is... And at the beginning, because all we know is density, when that begins to happen, you might get a sensation of fear, like, oh my God, everything's changing, I can't grasp anything. Well, you don't want to, because your body naturally is a way more fluid and way more flowing being than this doing thing that's nailing itself to the cross pretty much with every sentence it thinks, So here's the danger of the self-condemnation, and no matter how justified I feel to say, yeah, but what they doing over there, or not, it's got to be like radically honest with yourselves, like, hey, if I condemn my brother, I'm hanging on a cross with him, and when you're on a cross, you can't pull your nails out. You can't pull your own nails out because you can't. You're nailed. And so, first you unnail your brother. You take away the condemnation, and then you fall off the cross yourself. Yeah, you resurrect yourself. Now, same thing we did with our feelings. That's where it started. The feelings begin to reflect something, and then we condemn a feeling. We say, you are sadness. There you are that. And now we have that. And now it's going to keep replaying. Sadness is going to project more sadness. And then it's going to come back as situations that make us sad. Because the sadness the feeling wants to be free again. So it comes again, and it comes again. And then your anger wants to be free energy again, but you made it anger, you made it rage, you made it terror, you made it what you have it. Whatever feelings you've developed in yourself, you have those, and they're yours to carry. And that's your carrying your cross, because you nailed them down to something that they are not. Like if you remember from our previous podcast, we were talking about I kind of lost the line I was going to say. But basically it's the undoing process. Let me put it that way. It's undoing of anything that's solid into a little bit more spacious. When you make it spacious, your body begins to come to its natural place. So that's why Course in Miracles, one of the lines is, I am not a body, I'm free. And sometimes people think they're like, oh, Course in Miracles is in denial of body. It's not. It's just reminding you that you are not what you think you are. I think this is going to be an awesome podcast too, when we take up misperceptions of what's happening with the Course in Miracles, and how it's being translated into something that it's not. There's like 1,000 books on Course in Miracles. When I read them, they're really sad stories about what people do with this masterpiece. This is me throwing my little spears out there, going, "Hey guys, just loosen."
Well, I think
just loosen up a little bit. But it's true, So.
Well, it's true of almost every discipline that starts on the planet. I mean, you've got the more degrees of separation from the source, the more variations you're going to have on the source.
Bingo.
So, somebody like one of Jeshua's apostles, he got it from the lips, and then 500 years later. I mean, look at Buddhism. They didn't actually start writing down Buddhism for 500 years after he ascended. And we've all done that telephone game where, you repeat a phrase, and imagine how much distortion and how much was lost after 500 years of just being an oral tradition.
Yes. And then we begin to worship these images, worship Jesus, worship Buddha, and we make big churches, and we go and bow, and we pay the money, and we're caught up in this madness. And the salvation comes from you, no one else. A good teacher will basically say, hey, forgive, release everything you hold against yourself, release your judgments, move your emotions, and remember God. See you later.
And then usually the disciples' response is, well, what about that guy down the street? I heard he said something. And what about that chick on the internet? I heard her say something. And
I say to him, here is $100. Go and never see me again. Thank you very much. And if you want to see it on the long journey, go and see that guy who said whatever. But the salvation comes from you. Healing comes only from you. You use the world to forgive. So maybe just go straight into the forgiveness process, because it's just so simple. It's almost scary how, truth is always simple. It will smile you. And when you actually get it, it's just so not what you think it's going to be. It's so unexpected. You can't compare it to anything of the past because it's a brand new thing, and it's not of any projected movie. And when you're there, there's nothing you need to learn. So even the learning is over. We think like the more I learn, the better it is, or the more, I don't know, things I send on the Facebook. I hardly send anything, but the more people, the more images or what do you call, those little posters people send out. This is what you have to do, It's like that. And then you just look at it and go like, how do I even do this? And 20 years later, we're still caught up in this madness. So it's all about letting that go. Okay, truth is very simple, and even me going like, hey, here is some steps. I feel almost like, but I think they're very helpful when we find out it all comes from us. And if we could just stop it, like if I ask you right now, can you let go of everything you know? Exactly. You immediately begin to laugh. No. Yeah, you begin to laugh because you go, oh, of course not. But yeah, try anyway. Just try right now.
Never been.
Right now, try, Barry. Try like nothing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. Just feel this. Nothing. And then, because you're not projecting anything, inside your belly, something begins to expand naturally. And you go, oh, and it puts a smile on your face, I go like, oh, there it is. And you begin to expand light, you start feeling just gorgeous, And of course you could grab a mad story and make yourself, mad about it. But would you? And then just continue, do nothing. Oh, this could be a good podcast. The art of doing nothing. Because you see, but this is real key. Watch this. If I say do nothing, what are you doing? You're doing nothing.
Yeah, you're trying to do nothing.
Exactly, and trying is dying. So you're already screwed. So how do you get to that place where you don't even do nothing? Suddenly you are. You feel that? So now we're communicating. Now we're in a dialogue. Because suddenly the part of us that's joined together is in communication. I can feel you all the way to Australia. And if we sit here long enough, it becomes like this. It's almost like a turn on. You begin to vibrate as light. Because you're not burning your light on some movie. You're just simply stepping back and allowing the light to be more. And again, just effortlessly stepping back and letting the light to be more. You're not doing it. You're just getting out of the way, and there's more light.
But these steps you put together and procedures and stuff like that, they're important because we keep making the mistake of thinking that everybody is on the same position, on the same path that we are. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no hierarchy on the path, but there's some people that started 6 months ago or 2 weeks ago, and over the last 10 years on YouTube, I mean, I can clearly see that a majority of people need to be taken by the hand, step by step, and at least shown the way to the door. I mean, it's their choice whether they're going to open the door and proceed. But like we've both said, there's just so much disinformation and
Yeah.
misinformation out there that it's impossible unless you get help from a mentor or anybody. And it's not a method. It's not a process of learning.
Yes.
It's a process of remembering.
Oh.
Everybody's got this inside.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning, you were born. You've had it for the last 500 incarnations. The problem is people just won't take the time to sit down, be quiet, be still, and know that you are God. You can't hear the small whisper of the Spirit, when you're playing TikTok or YouTube or you're talking to 16 different people at a time on Zoom. You just can't do it, and people just need to take the time to, even if it starts with 5 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Get up 5 minutes earlier before your husband or wife or the kids. Go sit in the food closet and just meditate for 5 minutes, and then it'll expand.
Yeah.
And then next week you'll be doing 10 minutes, and, silence is a beautiful thing.
Well, we're not trying to make people do anything. We're just sharing what happened for us, what worked, what I could have easily saved myself years of trying and a misery and sitting on my bum. It got me pretty much nowhere. It got me here because of the frustration, really. At the end of the day, when to me, where it really turned around was like, I did all these practices and Course in Miracle lessons and Righteous Soul Movement, and I did this and that and served and I don't know, name it. And one day, after years and years of doing this, I'm sitting there, I'm going like, fuck this. Says this is hell. I'm going, God, Jesus, whoever the hell can hear me, what is going on? And then suddenly this voice says, are you ready? And I go, what? Are you ready? I remember going to my room, close the door, sit down, and I go, yep. And then there's nothing. It's just this kingdom of heaven. Just boom. Just boom. It's like, hey, it's right there in you right now and all the time. Find it and now give it. Because there's one thing of finding it. You know how you sometimes have you to do a workshop, but you do something different than you normally do, which is usually says like we're in these habitual patterns of doing things. You do a workshop and then you come home and you go, I found it. This is incredible. But 3 days later, it's all gone, right? Because there is one step. It's like if you don't give it, you'll choke on it. And so we're basically human beings that are choking on this kingdom that's within them, that's using the energy of light to mistreat themselves. I did it to myself. I still do it to myself at times, but I catch it real fast. It's like, oh God, I just got caught up in this or that. But that thing is in everyone. It's not like Jesus was any better dude than you or I or anyone else. He was just another man who decided to forgive. Bingo. End of story. Forgive and you back in your origins of who you are. The essence of your being is completely there at all the time. But if you don't give it, you don't have it. So more you give it, more you have it. So that's what this practice is of allowing any feeling and then giving it, allowing it to make that feeling be visible, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter, because feelings don't know whether they're positive or negatives. It's only the mind is in the way, really. So if I say to you, let go of everything you know, now your mind is gone, because that's all mind is. It's just this hard drive, billion gigabytes of rubbish. How much stuff is on your hard drive, and how much of it do you really use?
Right.
Everybody could ask themselves a question. We now buy terabytes, right? And I've got like 3 of them. I never use them. I've got this information in there. And I could go there and make myself so busy. But it's all about let the whole thing go. No matter how precious all the information is and how much money you pay for all the information, just a load up, just data. Just let that go. And when you let it go, you will feel that emotions begin to move and your feelings begin to become flowing again, and they will rise up. That's what the resurrection really is. Your feeling begins to go up and you don't stop them. They go up and you don't stop them. Go up. And so they begin to flow through you, and they come out of your head and they come down and start coming up again, and you become this incredibly beautiful electromagnetic field, which is the elevated self of form, in which you can flow and be actually happy. Because if you're actually not caught up in the stories and karma drama of your life, you actually become fine. This joy and peace is always in you. But if you don't take time and stop, and then we get so addicted to doing. So with these human doings, even spirituality can be such a doing thing that we forget to stop and remember that we are that, you know.
Yeah.
And yes, there was a little process where, you know, you need to know that for me it was very important to, because I was loaded. I had a huge megabytes of information in a feeling body. In my emotional intelligence was like that of a 3-year-old, you know. So I had to resurrect my feelings, you know, and welcome them, transform them through the art of true response. But when all my feelings gone accepted and begin to evolve, these states of openness, constant openness, are not obstructed by anything too heavy. They simply got released, and once they're not in there, there is no movies to be played. They also not magnetizing situations to my life for an opportunity to condemn them. So that process was a good one. Particularly if you empty your mind and you still have something arising, then you need to look at what it is arising, what's the true feeling, and what's your relationship to it, for sure. And when we came to the end of that program last time, we said, let's do forgiveness. Because, you know, when you actually learn how to truly forgive, you stop projecting these movies out and you undo everything in you. You know, we have stories, we have governments, and we have environmental problems, you know, we have 5G problems, we have all sorts of things in the world that not all of us are very happy about for our children and so on. But to go and attack what's outside is what nails it to the cross. So,
and we are also the authors of that drama.
We are. So that drama wouldn't happen to someone who lives in a forest and doesn't have an internet. They wouldn't know. They have a completely different reality by their own choice. And they're not in denial, because you could be right now in heaven. And people say, well, how can you be in heaven when this is going on and this is going on? Well, in my immediate vicinity, none of that is going on. And I think that's what's really dangerous about internet, that we look around the world and look for stuff that's going on. And a lot of it is just reporters making stories that are compelling. And but what's happening in my immediate vicinity is that which I would begin to forgive first. So if I have a neighbor that drives me nuts, that's where I begin to practice forgiveness, right? Because I wanna have that which actually shows up in my physical reality. Now, you can go into conspiracy theories and man, there's no end to it. I call them I call them conspiracy terrorists, because they're not theories. They're terrorists because they give you these ideas of how bad everything is, and then you make that your own reality, and you preoccupy your mind with it, and the whole thing might be over, but you still carry that in your mind. 20 years later, 30 years later, you still go like, oh yeah, in 60s, remember? Da da da. There's no 60s here, but you are burdened by stories.
Yeah, I mean, so many of those, they start from a concept, and if you've already got your concept in mind, you'll find any information that'll justify your belief, and it's a rabbit hole. They go down. I see these guys doing 5-hour webcasts,
Yeah.
and they've been studying this conspiracy stuff. Yeah, they study it because they see it, they produce it themselves, and you can create anything from anything, depending upon what you want to do.
Yeah, and then these guys, some of my friends that do it, they don't look very healthy. I don't see them being very happy people, and so everybody's free to do what they want to do. That's like, I'm not telling anyone to stop or whatever. I'm just saying, if you want to find the truth of who you are, empty as much as you can from anything that is got to do with the past, because the peace of God, or the pure presence, is now occurring newness. That's why you can never define God. Have you noticed that there's no way we can define God? Why? Because as soon as we define it, it's already too old. This whole thing is constantly evolving, and we're just not on it. Like I was talking about, the Big Bang was an orgasm, and most of us are not on it. Do you feel orgasmic, or do you feel like, frustrated? It's all your choice. It's all your choice, because you lost the sensitivity, and particularly as men, we're a little bit less sensitive to the feminine aspect of ourselves, which is the feeling, which is the more like the feminine aspect of creation. But the polarity is what the whole world is made of. Everything is an electromagnetic field, and we're living in it, and the whole cosmos is an electromagnetic field. And I'm saying all these things very loosely, like I wouldn't want anything of this be written somewhere, and it's just we're using perception to vomit all this information. But at the end of the day, it's about stop and remember. And if you step back enough, there it is, there you are. And if you can stay there and stay there, you stop condemning. Because you see, to forgive, you need to condemn first. Course in Miracles says, God does not forgive because God does not condemn. So if you're a God, which you are, because you're same as you were created in that same quality, you're not the source of everything, but you overall, but you're source of your reality. And if you condemn, right, then you have to forgive. So the trick with forgiveness is to stop condemning, and then you have nothing to forgive. However, if you have condemned, then you can undo it. And this is how you do it. If you want to do it simply, or this is how I do it, let me put it this way, yeah? So, Course in Miracles says an amazing thing. It says, first, identify the cause. Right? And so, where the mistake can really occur is it's like, oh, here is my brother who is doing something insane. So that's the cause. That's not the cause. Your brother is there because you magnetize the brother to yourself. Right? So that is the cause. You need to find where is that which that brother is triggering in you. So let's say you do something and you make me feel a certain way. And I'm not trying to actually reject him. I'm trying to not feel this thing that someone else is bringing up in me. That's the problem. And that's what needs to be solved. And that's for sure. So the first thing is to identify the cause. Well, if you can't identify it, you use that brother as like, how does this brother make me feel when he says so and so? So by then, thank you very much for coming. You can go now. Here is your $100 for triggering me into my own insanity and bringing me my salvation, really. So you should be grateful to him or her or it, the situation. And now you have a feeling. Now, what is the real feeling underneath it? Once you have that feeling and you truly feel it all the way down your legs, you got to feel really deeply below you. Once you feel it, you need to notice what is your relationship to this feeling. And it's the relationship to that feeling that needs to be repaired, because it's that relationship that attacks within. And now you're looking at the cause of the problem, right? Not the effect. So we need to identify the cause and then let it go. And then everything is fine. You see? That brother will never come again. If your brother comes and you go, well, you're an asshole, I don't want to have anything to do with you. You just fix the screen, but you're still projecting that same person. You can't change the screen.
He's just coming back for another $100.
That's good. You know what? You know where my greatest strength is? In my weakness. When I'm with my girlfriend, I go, oh God, I just feel a bit, I feel a bit inadequate right now. She goes, babe, that really turns me on. So my emotional intelligence is so evolved that I'm so happy to bring up anything. I've got no shame to show you any feeling of weakness, of inadequacy, of shame, of name it, man. I love all my feelings. So if that brings up, if anything, situation brings these feelings in me, I go, yep, let's have a look at them. Let's air it out. Because I'm no longer hiding, and it's not even what I'm hiding, it's that I'm hiding. Right? So this whole issue with feelings is actually not a massive issue if we can look at it intelligently. You know? When we did the first podcast and we mentioned, things about feelings, and a few men said like, ooh, feelings, ooh, ooh, ooh. I started a men's group the other day, and this one guy said, what, feelings? Can I get my money back? Right? Because it's like, whoa, thank you very much, I'm not going there. And yet, the guy left, and we had the most beautiful example of forgiveness of feelings. That man was just sitting there looking at his sadness and embracing it with the most loving embrace that he didn't even know he had in himself, you see. So men learn how to be good with their feminine, because if you don't love all your feelings, you can't really love your woman, right? And if women are against their own masculine, they're not really there for the man fully, because we do shift polarities, And men, when they learn how to be in a deepest feminine light, man, that's like heaven. It's heaven. Like, how I talk about, like, you want to be on a woman's pleasure because she's got much deeper pleasure than you, And
definitely.
Yeah. So, so you go and you tune into her, and she's like, oh, and then you just feel what you're doing with her, and you become extremely present. You're like this unshakable solidity of unmoving presence that nothing sways it. Just like this how would I put it, like this Shiva consciousness, like I'm light, I'm happy, I don't need anything, but this is beautiful, right? We'll create love, yeah, from nothing, from no need or some kind of, basically love heals everything. Love has to be real, and until you love all of your feelings, you don't know really what love is. It's just impossible. And you can have maybe a revelation for a couple of days, but it will not last, because it's the feminine that empowers the masculine, or inspires, or even awakens the masculine. So, but that's the...
I mean, it's an evolution. I mean, everybody, like when people say, I'm fully woke, and then we just smile and say, being awoke is not an end point. It's a point
beginning
in a continuing journey that never ends.
Never ends. And when a man says, look, I'm awake, so like, yeah, show me a woman. Let me meet your partner. Let's see how awake you are. Because the feminine is a perfect reflection of masculine. Unfortunately, in this world, feminine has been so battered, because our feelings have been so battered, that feminine is not giving us the reflection we need. And without this reflection, man can tell himself he's awake, he's enlightened, whatever. But woman will always know if she allows herself her true feelings. Unfortunately, some teachings even go against feelings and emotions. And so, you don't give that true response. But actually, if you create a safe space with a woman as a man, and you create this amazing container, and you say, hey, so how do I really feel to you? She gives you that look like, oh, are you kidding me? Do you think I can really give you this response? And I go, yeah, give me anything. Don't hold back. You hurt my feelings? Good. Because if you hurt my feelings, I haven't transformed something in myself. Tell me. And then, man, you will get a reflection. You will not know that's you. And it's the feminine that actually shows at the end, when you truly love your woman, she will begin to reflect feelings that we as men never even dreamed of possible. And then those feelings will make us exquisitely present. And the more present you are, the more she opens. And the more she opens, the more present you become. The more present you become, more you open her. And then this dance of opening and presence has no end. You can go, God is endless. It's forever expanding as you can handle it. Because you also have to have a bit of a free body. Because if you start feeling all this light in yourself and you have any blockages, it's not going to feel too comfortable. So, it takes a little bit of little bit of practice.
Jamie, you mean free or flexible? I think you need to be a little flexible when you get to that point with your woman.
But it's just, that's the thing. Like what I do, as soon as I meet my woman, I want to tune into her frequency. Tune into her true feelings. And if she can help me, like I mentioned, that safety process, that's a gold. That's like every relationship. Imagine you come home and you on your mission, you've just, made a kill, made $1 million, and there she is like, hey, where's the milk? Did you forget the milk, This is actually not my line. This comes from David Deida. But I think it's such a good metaphor, because it's like she couldn't care less what. She wants to know, where are you now? Are you with me? That's the number one. Are you tuning into my frequency? So you will refine your receptive centers in you. If you allow yourself to evolve your will, you refine these receptors in you. And then, it takes me maybe a few minutes to retune totally into her feminine realm. Because when I feel her, I know how to direct us into a greater depth. So we both have a function. Man is more of a direction and she's more of a reflection to that direction. But if a man truly feels a woman, he knows where to take her there where she would be happy. And if you don't have a partner, you can do this on your own by talking to God. Like, for example, you say, hey, God, what do I want? Show me that which would truly make me happy. Because what you think you want will never satisfy you. Not really. You know, how many things you've done and at the end of it, you just said there, so, oh, that was cool. And you go, oh, what's next? Right? But when you start getting from this greater source, it's like, what do I truly want? What will make me truly happy? You will not get a quick answer, but you will find yourself in a place and you'll go like, wow, how come this is so profoundly exquisite right now? I mean, this golden ocean of bliss, of pleasure, of feeling good. Even just feeling good is great, right? And then you go, oh, this is what I wanted. You know, what do I really want? This is what I really want. But it's kind of given to you beyond your own little means of what is available, because God is great and He offers you things that will blow your little perspectives into smithereens.
That's beautiful. Let's think about wrapping things up. We're getting near the top of the hour. Do you have any closing thoughts that you want to share? Or are you good?
Good. No closing thoughts, because
right.
You know, I start talking and you know.
Yeah, there's no closing thoughts with you. There's only beginning thoughts.
There's forever beginning, you know. And yeah, let's leave it at that.
Yeah, okay. Let me make a few short announcements too. A lot of people mentioned, Cole, that your music on the bumpers was really beautiful, and so over the last week I was twisting Cole's arms, and I think it took like 0.3 seconds, and I asked him if we could add some of his music at the end of every podcast. So we're going to sign out. There'll be the end bumper, and then we're going to put one of his songs on there. So don't close out the video, and you give a chance to listen to Cole for 2 or 3 minutes. Like I said before, beautiful stuff. Also, another reminder about our email address for any questions that you want to post or write in. It is streetsmartpodcast@gmail.com. That's on the thumbnail. You can do that. But yeah, I mean, music and questions. We'll start doing questions maybe next week. And once again, I want to thank Cole from Australia. And thanks for sharing your wisdom, and looking forward to next week.
Thanks, Barry. It was awesome to catch up with you again.
All right, we'll talk to you soon. Good night, everybody, and thanks for giving us a listen.
Good night.